Can you believe that Glenn Close has never won an Oscar?
I don't think I'm a loser.
It's truly shocking. Despite her phenomenal talent and a career that spans decades, she remains the most nominated living actor without a statuette.
I was upset about all the people who bet that I was going to win.
That's amazing.
All the people in Jersey, sorry.
Maybe the Academy is just afraid she'd give an acceptance speech so epic it would make the rest of Hollywood retire. But did you know that Glenn Close almost became a scientist instead of an actress? Yep, she once said, "I had a fantastic Bio 101 teacher at William & Mary, and he was so inspiring that I wanted to get into a white coat and do research. But then she hit chemistry class and thought, maybe I'll just play a doctor instead." Can you imagine Glenn Close in a lab coat? Nowadays, Glenn's latest passion, besides acting of course, is geography. "I've been studying geography and geopolitics," she shared. "I got myself an atlas and a topographical map of the world." She's on a mission to learn where countries actually are. Let's be honest, how many of us can really point out every country on a map? Glenn is also a huge advocate for mental health awareness. She's been open about her family's struggles with mental illness and supports organizations working to destigmatize these issues.
My sister has bipolar disorder and my nephew has schizophrenia. I co-founded Bring Change to Mind because I figured if my family was this way, there were millions of other families just like us.
It's always inspiring to see someone using their platform for such a good cause. Growing up, Glenn was part of the moral rearmament movement, which she later called a cult.
It was incredibly destructive for all of us. My parents got into it when I was 7, and I got out of it when I was 22 and went to, I left, demanded, and went to college.
The beliefs imposed on her left scars that still affect her today.
So yes, I had nothing in my toolbox, except I could act.
But she didn't let that stop her from making a difference. Her dedication to philanthropy earned her the National Arts Club Gold Medal for her contributions to the arts and society. Pretty impressive, right? She's also a fierce advocate for gender equality in the film industry, speaking out about the need for more representation and opportunities for women, both on screen and behind the scenes. You go, Glenn! And as for those Oscars she hasn't won, Glenn is surprisingly chill about it. "It's kinda great to never win in a way, I guess," she says. "I don't know. I'm a pragmatic Yankee, and I force myself to not believe in anything until it actually happens."
Well, it would be nice after 42 years, but you know, I'm very sanguine about it. I think if it happens, great. It's not going to change my passion for what I do.
Talk about keeping it real. But hey, she still has a chance to snag one or several for her upcoming projects. First up, Glenn is starring in The Deliverance, a supernatural horror thriller about a family in Indiana dealing with spooky, demonic occurrences. They and their community start to believe their house is a portal to hell. Sounds spooky, right? Also, Glenn is joining the all-star cast of the new Knives Out mystery movie, Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery, headlined by Daniel Craig. What a dream team. Wait, there's more. She's set to appear in Back in Action, an upcoming action comedy with Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx. This one promises plenty of laughs and thrills. Plus, Glenn will be starring in Brothers, an action comedy with Josh Brolin, Peter Dinklage, and Brendan Fraser. It's about a reformed criminal and his wild twin brother on a chaotic road trip, dodging bullets and their overbearing mom while trying to heal their bond. Sounds like a wild ride. Well, I hope one of these upcoming films finally earns Glenn that long-awaited Oscar.
To be 71 and to still be in that room and to feel the energy and the love of that crowd, that's pretty special.
Now let's take a look at some of her most powerful performances and see what makes her such an icon. And here's a little sneak peek. One of them is in a movie based on Trump's new Vice President, J.D. Vance. Intrigued? You should be. Let's jump in. Alex Forrest, played by Glenn Close in the 1987 thriller Fatal Attraction, is one of the most iconic and fearsome female villains in cinematic history. When Dan tries to end things, Alex's obsession goes off the rails, leading to some intense and shocking moments. A rabbit boiled alive, hot sex on the kitchen sink, Glenn Close as a fatal temptress, grosses of $320 million against a budget of $14 million, 6 Oscar nominations, and 36 years later, a remake in the series format. By the way, the actress herself does not consider Alex a villain, but on the contrary, sees her as a deeply traumatized person. "I fought it for 2 weeks. It was going to make a character I loved into a murdering psychopath," she told the New York Times.
When I got the part, the first thing I did was give the script to 2 different psychiatrists and said, is this behavior possible? And if it is, what would create it? And of course, they both came back and said, yes, there are people who will do this.
Fatal Attraction is probably the most famous case of a film whose ending was radically changed based on test screenings. Glenn Close initially objected to the revised ending, but eventually relented.
The audience wanted to believe that that family might be able to survive.
Yeah.
So they got their catharsis by shedding my blood.
Here's the movie based on Trump's new vice president, J.D. Vance's memoir. If Trump wins the election, you might want to check it out to know more about the new VP. Despite the film being panned by critics, Glenn's take on Mama, an eccentric matriarch striving to keep her grandson in line, was praised.
But you got to decide. You want to be somebody or not?
The Oscar eluded her again. But here's a twist. Glenn also snagged a Golden Raspberry Award nomination for Worst Supporting Actress for the same role. Now that's the thing that doesn't happen often. It's pretty rare to be recognized as both the best and the worst for the same performance. Given the rough reviews for Hillbilly Elegy, this odd combo makes sense.
It's a really good movie.
It's a really good movie.
Glenn talked about her approach to Mama, saying, "I didn't want her to be a caricature. I worked hard to put myself in her shoes and find her essence without judgment. She even wore a prosthetic nose to match the real Mama. Vance's family had a true oh shh moment seeing her because she looked and acted just like Mama."
And her older son came on the set, about 3/4 of the way through the shooting, and he had to leave because he started crying. I mean, it was like, he felt that she was reincarnated in front of him.
Glenn totally transforms into the iconic Cruella de Vil, the ultimate fashion villain. With her wild cackle, over-the-top fur capes, and sharp claws, she makes Cruella a memorable character who's inspired countless Halloween costumes. She's truly made Cruella a pop culture legend.
I mean, in the cartoon, she says terrible things. She is really mean. And I got some of the lines back from the original cartoon because it was very evident very fast that the meaner I was, the funnier it was.
And did you know that Glenn Close had a clause in her contract for this movie, and its sequel, that let her keep all of Cruella's fabulous costumes? Imagine having that wardrobe at home.
Because my costume collection is at Indiana University, which is fantastic.
"I got in my contract that I got to keep all my costumes that I wore in the movie," she said. When the producers realized how expensive the costumes were, they weren't happy and wanted to make another set for her. Glenn stood her ground and said no. Can you blame her? Those costumes are legendary.
"If we make this coat, it would be as if I were wearing your dog." Woof, woof.
In The Wife, Glenn Close gives an incredible performance as Joan Castleman, the unsung hero behind her husband's literary success. As the film shows Joan looking back on her life, Close reveals the deep sacrifice and hidden talent she's kept under wraps for years.
We're writing partners. And as we've created a beautiful body of work together.
You edit, Joe. That's all you do. I'm the one who sits at that desk 8 hours a day.
Close felt a deep connection to Joan's story. "I spent a lot of my life feeling that I couldn't be fully owning who I am, because I didn't want to feel that somebody had to compete with that. It's very, very tricky," she said. She also felt her mother was often unfulfilled.
My mom, who we all adored, at the end of her life said, I feel like I've accomplished nothing.
Glenn drew on those memories of her mother to bring more depth to her role. She also pointed out that the movie's long journey to the big screen is a testament to the Yacht Me Too movement. Well, we are in the Yacht Me Too movement, aren't we?
But the fact that, makes me think of the Me Too movement is it took 14 years to make a movie called The Wife.
This basically is a story that came to fruition because of the passion of a lot of women. For me, that represents where I hope we are going to stay, with that kind of diversity in front and behind the camera. Thanks to her powerful and nuanced portrayal, Close earned her 8th Academy Award nomination and a Golden Globe win. While she didn't snag the Oscar, her performance remains a powerful tribute to women's strength and resilience, making this film a must-see. So, there you have it, a tour through some of Glenn Close's most powerful performances. Despite not having that elusive Oscar, her talent and range have made her a true icon in the industry. Now, what's your favorite Glenn Close film?